Sony Xperia 1 Mark 6 may just be the biggest disappointment of 2024, even though it might be my favorite phone. I love the Xperia 1 Mark 6, and there's so many different things that they improved. I think probably it is the most improved phone of 2024, but it's made a major step back in one way, and there's availability. So Sony didn't tell everybody they were basically pulling out of the US market, but they kind of did. So whenever the phone launched, only available outside the US, no availability for the US, no US variant, and that really stings because the biggest reason, of course, you can import phones, right? You can buy one of these unlocked, you can use it here, and I have no problem really with T-Mobile and AT&T as far as 4G LTE goes, but I get very limited 5G, and that's only with having to go in and do kind of like some light level hacking in the settings to get it to work. So that's the biggest disappointment, because if this phone were available here and priced right, man, I think it's the best phone Sony's made in years. They finally listened to people who were not diehard Sony fans, and they changed up the front screen. So it still has a 6.5-inch screen, but they changed up the aspect ratio, made it a little bit wider. Yes, they did drop it down to full HD. The reason they said that was because they needed to. That's how they finally got the LTPO screen in there. They said they couldn't work it out with 4K. I don't know why they didn't do Quad HD Plus, but ultimately, with the pixels per inch, it's still high enough that it meets the Retina display requirements for Apple, meaning you can't really tell a difference. And when you're using it, you just can't tell a difference. They made it much brighter, which is good because, of course, the Sony screens were always kind of dim. So they made it brighter. Got the Snapdragon 8 Generation 3. It's still got a headphone jack. Yes, headphone jack. That's great. It's still got the SD card slot on the inside. That's great too. It's got the fingerprint scanner built into the power button. Still no facial recognition, which I don't really care about at all. I love using the power button with the fingerprint scanner, so that works great for me. Honestly, with most of my phones, I don't even enable facial recognition because I hate, sometimes it just unlocks when I don't want it to, and I hate the prompts. I just don't care for it that much. That's one reason I complain about the iPhones. Yeah, it's great. Face ID is so good, but it really needs Touch ID as well. I miss Touch ID. I loved it on the previous phones, the iPhone 8 Plus, the iPhone SE. I wish they would bring it back, even if it's just in the power button on the top, but whatever. This video is not about that. They expanded the support, gave us 3 years of support, so no more 2. And that's another point of contention because it's basically like a $1,400 phone and only has 3 years of support. Again, better than 2, but 3 is still not the greatest in the world. And the build quality is great. It's still got this nice textured Gorilla Glass Victus on it. And it's got the little contoured sides as well with the lines in it, better for grip, dedicated shutter button, consolidation of the camera app. All under one house now, which is good. Still fantastic video quality. You still got all the great camera profiles in there and all that stuff. And 4K 60 on every camera. It's got the true continuous zoom lens that now goes even further. And the camera, I think, is solid. I think if you go in, especially with Pro Mode and everything, you can really take some good photos with it. This is like having a portable DSLR in your pocket, and the camera app lines up. You feel like you're shooting with a real Sony camera, not a smartphone. Speakers, amazing. Probably the best speakers on any phone this year. They basically made them twice as loud, doubled the performance and the quality, the volume. That's really good. And they've got this new, basically like dual density 5,000 milliamp battery that basically this phone, you can't kill it in a day, I don't think. I mean, it's supposed to last you 2 days. And there's no phone I've ever used that's supposed to be good for like 2 days that I actually feel got as close as this phone does. So, yeah, new chipset. They fixed the heat. No more heat issues with it, which I thought were pretty much gone with the Xperia 1 Mark 5. But massive heat sink in there. I mean, the big vapor chamber, all that stuff. It's really, really, really good. And that the sad thing is you just can't get it here. And the compatibility with the networks is not great. Even though I get the basic kind of a little bit of 5G with T-Mobile, and I get 4G LTE, mostly it's fine, but it is difficult sometimes if you're in spotty area or it doesn't do great. I've had it drop a couple of calls on me. So, yeah, that's just the biggest point of contention that I have. And my 2 favorite phones this year, Pixel 9 Pro, Pro XL, and this guy. And Sony just came out of left field, and they made so many improvements to this phone. Basically, you start looking at every different area on the phone. It's like improved, 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 better, and it's just not here. And still got the 120 hertz refresh rate. It's got the OLED. It throttles down, variable refresh rate now. That's good. Helps out with battery, which really doesn't need because of the massive battery anyway. Completely went back to the drawing board with the camera app. Still got the dedicated camera button, and it's got a beautiful screen, good haptics on it. I love this phone. I love it, and you can get it on Amazon. I think I was looking; it's just over $1,000 on Amazon now, and that's I think just a basic black one. They have a crimson red one, and I saw it in person while I was in Japan a couple of months ago. I'm like, man, I absolutely love that color. I like red stuff. My car is red. My wife's a redhead. I like red things. I wish I'd have gotten this in red, but it wasn't available whenever I bought it. But anyway, yeah, I love the Sony Xperia 1 Mark 6, and I really hope that Sony finds a way to bring their phones back to the States. I had been holding out hope, hoping they would make a U.S. variant at some point, just so those of us who want one here in the States could get one, but they've just been pulling back for so long. It's been so many years since they've had one on a carrier shelf. You haven't been able to get one at Best Buy for the last couple of years, and it's just one of those frustrating things where I feel like with LG or like with BlackBerry and now with Sony, there's just so many questions about where they're going to go moving forward. And Sony makes a buttload of money. Like Sony makes so much money that you'd think they would eat it in the shorts on that one. And we were expecting to get another Pro I. That never came to fruition. So no second version of the Pro I. And then these guys just not available in the States. So yeah, it's very concerning. Like, I don't know where we're going from here, but I love this phone. They did such a good job with it. They improved so many different areas, and I haven't made tons of videos about it. I have, of course, in my review and a couple other follow-up videos, but I wanted to talk about it again as we've gotten to the end of the year because so many people didn't even talk about it because it's not available here, and that's just, I think it's sad because finally they got everything kind of firing on all cylinders. And I know that they've frustrated some people, some hardliners, Sony fans, because it doesn't have the same aspect ratio it used to, which I am actually not too heartburned about it. I've grown to like it, and it works just fine. I enjoy it, and the screen looks gorgeous, even though it's full HD plus and not Quad HD or 4K. For the longest time, we had 4K. That's a hard pill to swallow, especially as a diehard Sony fan base. We wish they could have found a way to keep that in there. And I guess maybe they did it to try and keep costs down, even though costs are still high because they don't make very many of these phones. So I think cost of production is very high, which is another reason why we didn't get a US model. But I can only hope that the Xperia 1 Mark 7 does happen. And I can only hope that if it does happen, it comes back to the States again. Maybe this was just a test. Maybe they wanted to see how it works, if people would still buy it if they couldn't get in the U.S. Traditionally, of course, Sony is a Japanese company. They got a big market there. But if you notice in Japan, one of the things that's troubling if you're a Sony fan, or at least work at Sony, is that the Google Pixel market share is just going up and up and up over there. People over in Japan apparently really like the Pixels. And I can't blame them because I really like the Pixel phones. So that's why I wanted to talk about this phone. I've talked about the best phone of this year, which I think is the Pixel 9 Pro, Pro XL. Even the runner-up, which I said was the OnePlus 12. The best foldable, I think, is the Z Fold 6. The best flip phone, I think, is the best Motorola Razr Plus. And I love this phone. It may just be my favorite phone this year, but it's also the biggest disappointment because it just can't get it. And I wonder how much of the writing on the wall is in an ink and not in pencil at this point, to see what's going to happen as we move forward. But anyway, that's all I've got. If you have any questions, comments, gripes, concerns, complaints, all that stuff, please go to the comment section. I'll do my best to get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, if you found this helpful, if you like this stuff, please hit the like and the subscribe button and a little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.